Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid savaging the Koch brothers, painting them as corrupt and un-American. Many mainstream media outlets all too eager to back up that characterization.
Yeah, just like when the Washington Post published an article endorsing the theory that the Koch brothers would benefit from the Keystone Pipeline.
Our next guest has debunked that story. Joining us now is Powerline blogger John Hinderaker. John, thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So the Washington Post basically reinforcing the precise storyline that Harry Reid has been putting out there. Tell us how that works.
Well, last week, the Washington Post ran an article that implied that Koch Industries is the driving force behind the Keystone Pipeline because Koch would benefit from the pipeline financially. The article was based entirely on a report that was done by a far-left group called the International Forum on Globalization last fall, and I debunked that report on Powerline last October. The reality is that Koch Industries has nothing to do with Keystone. They haven't lobbied in favor of the Keystone Pipeline. They haven't lobbied against it. They haven't taken a position on whether it should be built. The pipeline won't run anywhere near any Koch refinery. And in fact, the Keystone Pipeline would damage Koch's economic interests because it would allow Alberta oil to be shipped to the refineries in the southern states and diverted away from Koch's refinery in Minnesota, which now gets Alberta oil at a low price because there is a glut. And ironically, the IFG report, which is the sole basis for this Washington Post article, acknowledged this fact and said that Koch Industries would be damaged to the tune of $120 billion by the construction of the pipeline.
So why did the Washington Post even write this story in the first place?
Well, after I wrote my first article about it, the two Post reporters were taking a lot of heat from a lot of people, and so they went out in public again and they wrote a little piece about why did we write this article, because they admitted that everything I had said was true, and they acknowledged that their motive had been political. This is what they said. They wrote the article, quote, "To stir and inflame public debate in this election year, that's why we wrote the piece." Now, the stunning fact is that just a few days after the Washington Post article appeared, the other shoe dropped. And Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and Congressman Henry Waxman wrote a long letter to the president of Koch Industries, asking a series of questions and requesting lots of documents about the Keystone Pipeline. And they based their letter entirely on the Washington Post article and the IFG report that the Post article, in turn, relied on. And they dropped a whole series of footnotes to the Washington Post article and to the IFG report.
What I'm so confused by is there's all this reporting on Koch Industries, the Koch brothers. Where's all the reporting on, say, Harry, the Senate Majority Leader, who, by the way, is rich, lives at the Ritz in D.C.? How did a sitting senator get so rich? Why isn't the Washington Post reported on that?
You know, Harry Reid's greatest achievement after a career in public life is that he has stayed out of jail. Here is a man who has been a public employee his entire adult life, and he has gotten rich. His whole family is rich. His sons are rich. His grandchildren, they're all rich. And how does that happen?
Yeah, how does that happen?
You would think that a reporter would want to know how exactly does a politician get rich on the salary of a public employee, and apparently no one ever asks Harry Reid that question.
Well, the Washington Post was too busy trying to inflame and stir discussion in time for the election year in their response. John, great to see you this morning, and thanks for your reporting on this.
Thank you.
Coming up here on the show, we told you about the teenager who slipped past